Hello and welcome to another session of Zoom into Wine. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We get some great people together to talk about wine from around the world, different grape varieties, different places, different ideas. And tonight is a search for Chenin. This is a great grape variety that often gets overlooked, but because it gets often overlooked, tonight we're going to taste 7 really great ones. I hope you are ready for this and we can rock on through. Before we begin, I had to say a little prayer before we started because Zoom updated the technology. It's always interesting when they do that. This is my first Zoom after a pretty radical update. I'm very hopeful that this works out. Yeah, so we're going live on Facebook right now. I already thought that had happened. Let me just make sure we get there. Here it is. All right, I see it. It's working out. So here we go. Zoom into Wine presents a search for Chenin. Chenin Blanc is the grape variety. There are many excellent examples of Chenin Blanc around the globe. This is a grape variety that we can all really make a rendition of and have some success with. We make some very earnest examples here in California. Some of my favorite out of Santa Barbara. There used to be a number of really good old vine Chenin Blanc vineyards up in Napa, but kind of Clarksville started to be a little bit more of a better bedroom for this grape variety. And so many of the productions moved to Clarksville. There's some old vine material there. Of course, Loire Valley is dotted with amazing Chenin Blancs. We're going to taste a number of those tonight. We go down to South Africa, where they call the wine Steen. That is Chenin Blanc from South Africa. There are efforts in places like New Zealand and Australia and some beautiful stuff down in Argentina. We won't be trying those tonight. We're staying with the 7 that we have. Very proud 7. Before we get started, just a couple little insert commercials. Next week, top values. Is that next week already? My goodness. This will set the record for the top number of bottle sales. We sold probably more bottle kits than we did tasting kits because all of the bottles fit together under $100. You may want to join us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Plenty of wine available, but check out the list. We put one of these together every year. Just kind of look at something very affordable that's very delicious. Don't want to have it get away from you without trying some of these things. These are not your normal wines, special little things that we've been able to put into the store. In fact, I got a new one that, man, if we were starting all over again, I would put that in the store already. So we build it throughout the year. The next thing is tomorrow. And I just literally walked in the door from unloading almost 100 cases of wine. I think my back is going to pop out at some point tonight. That usually happens. But tomorrow is my biggest event in Los Angeles for the year. We'll have 200 top wine buyers coming to see me tomorrow during the day. And then tomorrow night, we raise money for charity, have a big shindig, 39 Pinot Noir producers, all a test restaurant. We take over the entire restaurant for the day. Buyout, 39 wineries, Richard Blade on the music. It's a really big deal and a really great crowd. We've almost sold out. Got like a couple of tickets at each day part available, but really a beautiful audience and just couldn't be going much better. And tomorrow is going to be another beautiful LA day. It was 83 degrees today. It was such a beautiful day here in LA. I hope Northern California is feeling pretty good too. I think this is like our collective moment to enjoy, because Friday, the heat is coming back. Here it comes. Well, in kind of preparation for the heat that's coming, what I love about Chenin Blanc is that this can be a great summer white, something to really refresh, recharge, and beat the heat. And I will tell you that the first one is like, if you were to ask me which bottle I was going to grab first in the store for that reason, this one is it right here. Really sexy brand that we love a lot. Les Rocher de Violette. This is the Vin de France Chenin Blanc. We also carry a very noble, I think it's considered a Clos, a single Clos version. It's quite a bit more expensive. These guys make really top quality Chenins in the Loire Valley. And they're a very famous name in many parts, restaurant, culinary. You'll see a lot of this wine in the top restaurants in New York, on the East Coast. A little bit makes it out here. And so I was pretty excited to taste it, to bring it in. This is a look at the young Studley winemaker. Everything they're doing is natural path. Lots of hand farming, very sustainable. Xavier, about 22 acres in 2005. So he is really creating a name for himself. He's not one of the established. Look at that cave. That cave is so cool. And this is what Chenin Blanc is all about, Loire Valley, taking advantage of their limestone composition. And this is what the vineyards look like. This Chenin Blanc is a la naturel. It comes from not so much the famous sites. It's a little bit more of the economical site, because this wine is quite a deal. But old vines done in this really daft way. I think it's technically so pure, so clean, so bright, so zesty. And at the price point, it really kills it. Focus on that lemon curd and apple pastry. I have mine dialed in at just the right temperature. I pulled these babies out about 5-10 minutes ago. Nice and chilled, and this will wake up. This has got some really good positive vibrations going on right now. I love the zestiness, crispness, the focus. Like I said, if you focus on that lemon curd and apple pastry, I think you're really going to love this effort. A lot of Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley can be very earth oriented, very herbal almost. This one really does a great job of keeping it tight, fresh, clean. There's some great energy here, and it's a great price point, $22.95. Just something that you can literally, pick any day of the week, have with so many different fun foods. Um, I love this at the salad course. I love it with cheese. I love it with just sitting around picking appetizers. You want to have some chicken tenders, something casual. So, you can just really explore with a wine like this and feel comfortable that it's going to go well with so many things. There's just really no rules here. This is not sweet. There are going to be some moments in tonight's tasting where we maybe detect some sweetness or some ripeness. This wine is pretty bone dry, finishes really nicely, balanced. Purity is key here. I hope you love it as much as me. I wanted to show that wine first because I wanted to get off to a start where we could taste the grape variety in its purest form, not make too much of a terroir statement, uh, because this wine is, at a price point where it just needs to be nice. I think it benefits from being French because, sun-drenched Chenin Blanc can be a little different. We'll get to one. It has a little bit more attitude, maybe takes a little different moment. This first wine, I just think is right to go any place, anytime. Wine number two is like a culinary gold mine. This is this is one of my favorite all-time wines. This is the stuff that geeks will love. This is absolutely meant for the Michelin star dining room or your living room, whichever, and your best effort. This is a special bottle. This is also a battle tank. This is a wine that you would love to buy from 2018 because the current vintage, which we just ran out of, we were going to do, I think 20 or 21. It ran, it went on a run. I went back to the distributor. They had none. They said, but we have one case of 18 in the reserve, and it's way more expensive now. But I threw it in. So I went from the younger wine to the more reserve 18. It's like $15 more. These age a long time. In fact, years ago, same producer brought in a reserve case of 1999. I'm not talking 10 years ago. I'm talking like 3 years ago. We had 99 Savennières on the website. So this is a wine that can really age and take on some personality in the cellar. Let's get that in the glass. This is the 2018. We're in pretty much the same area, a little bit more over here than over here, which is the first one was more over here. And now we're a little over here. Savennières is the name of the place. And here they make bone dry, chiseled Chenin Blanc, as dry as you could make it. And this is the high art of Chenin Blanc. This is the Domaine Moines, founded in 1981. It has quite a history before, obviously, but as the Domaine Moines, a relatively recent brand name. Savennières is located on the western edge of the Anjou region in the Loire Valley. Let's see, what other wonderful stats should we use? The wines are all fermented with indigenous yeast, so natural yeast comes in on the grapes, no addition, aged in combo of tank and cask. And these are some older wood barrels, larger format, 400 liter, it says. 220 and 400 liter wood. 65 to 75% tank. Bottled around 9 to 10 months. Definitely on the lower yields, higher quality side of the fence. South facing slopes, yada yada. This one on this particular tasting note says vinified 95% in barrels. So this particular vintage, 95 barrels, 5% in cuvées. The nose is very finely polished and crystalline with a smoky and reductive edge. Enticing sense of white peach and frisés. Is that a flower? Frisé. Somebody help me there. Freesias. I believe it's a flower. I believe it's a white flower, in fact. The palate has a delicious harmony with a vinous presence, supple and textured, sinewy and complete, with notes of orange peel, chamomile, and honeysuckle. All right, let's give it a go. Let's see what we think. This is their, like I said, this is their showcase wine. There's something here about Tessa La Roche, which I should comment on, because they have been farming this property biodynamically. She makes a wine from the adjacent property that I love as well. I just sold out of it, so I'm not going to show it to you here today, but they yeah, go ahead, Shirley.
Hi. Great fun. The bottles that we received have numbers on them, but they don't have their normal labels, where they tell you what's in each bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not exactly sure what we're following. I mean, what order?
Oh, so you didn't get the email that tells you what the order was?
Maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
we did.
there is one in the order. There is one there, and you can also look at the website, and we should have that fixed up on the website as well.
Okay.
Zoom into wine.
All right. Thank you.
You got it.
Wine? Can we just?
So we just tasted the first one, which is Le Roche de Violette. Then we were on Domaine à Moines. Then
Yeah,
we're
what
south. Then we're
number
south.
What's the number on the bottle?
Number 2 is what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
that's what we were asking.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. We got it. Okay.
Never fun not to be sure where exactly you're at in a Zoom tasting. So please make sure I give you the info. All right. Going back here, just to talk about Tessa La Roche as the owner. She purchased this property and took it biodynamic as well. So biodynamic, almost spiritual level of grape growing, really in touch with the moon and the sun and the calendar. There's many in the Loire Valley that are leaders in biodynamic movement. Nicolas Joly, very famous, very collectible, very expensive producer, which we have their wines as well on our website. Fully biodynamic wines, no additional sulfur. And that's also something that we can count on here as well. Very low natural sulfurs are what they find in the vineyards. So they're not going to add additional sulfur to these wines. So these are very natural wines. In fact, when people ask you if you like natural wines, you can talk about Savennières and see if they know what they're talking about, because this is like old school natural wine. They've been doing it there for a long time. And this is our $60 version tonight. I want to get into the glass with you. You can see that the 18, now with 6 years in the bottle, has started to add some color. It's almost got kind of like a hint of copper, burnt butter type of a color. That nose, I mean, there's almost no fruit in a Savennière. This smells like food. This smells like a savory. It smells like a cave. It smells like limestone. It smells like the earth. When you taste that wine, this is just super chiseled. That stony minerality that's kind of coming through, even in the mouth. It's got kind of like a little almost like gravel. You've got the nose with that. I used to work in a restaurant that we would use like an overhead heat device to melt the Gruyere cheese on top of like a soup or a presentation. And that smell is what I'm connecting to this wine right now. I can imagine having a classic bowl of French onion soup with that melted Gruyere and that almost caramelized cheese on top. Absolutely. That would be great. But even more serious, going into different types of game, bird, pork. There's a lot of acidity here and some just wonderful texture to play with the food. It's the nose is something you're going to pay attention to and try to connect the dots a little bit. A French dining room would just have a blast with this. And if you're going to a great French restaurant, this is certainly a place to look for something interesting on the wine list. A French restaurant, say a Melisse here in Los Angeles or Providence. This wine probably $200 a bottle in a French Michelin starred restaurant. They're going to work on 4, maybe 5 times the markup here. So it's a big number for a French restaurant, but a kind of a small number inside of a French restaurant like that too. Because good luck finding anything this good and this interesting for $200 in a great restaurant. Kent, chalk with hints of smoke. I dig that. Wendy, thanks for the knowledge. Brisés have a heavenly perfume, you say. Like a Japanese honeysuckle or gardenia. Very nice. I like that. Thank you. White flower. Thanks, Thomas. And Shirley, we got to you. I just now saw your chat there, Shirley. Sorry. All right, we're off to a good start. A couple of French wines to kind of set the mood. One incredible value, very delicious and bright, and one locked and loaded with lots of classic character. Savennière, that wine comes to play every single time. I was very excited to taste this 18. We just got it into the warehouse from the distributor. Now, Chenin, as a grape, has a number of different personalities, and some of the things that we can look for when we're talking about Chenin Blanc. It's not the most aromatic of the wine. So when you got a good one like that we just had, the Savennière, you get some aromatics that are pretty dynamic there. I don't know how much white flower I smelt there, but I got a lot of very beautiful, celery roots. Like I said, that roasted Gruyere note, that's kind of caramelized note that there's a lot of earth character. I think like artichoke hearts and maybe even some white asparagus. Those are the type of things that you can play with that wine and have some fun. And then we go back to the first wine, lighter, funner, more salads, more casual, just drink, by the full glass. I think it's more of a quantity opportunity to really have fun, just getting something that you can drink very casually and drink a lot of it. Whereas this one, this last wine, the Savennière, a really beautiful upscale bottle. We're going down to South Africa for our next version. This is another prestigious house with kind of a continuation of the family continuing to make beautiful wines. The last name is Sadie, Sadie. Their son is Eben Sadi, and he is on fire, making some really big moves in the wine business. But his parents still right here. They're in Swartland. Swartland's by far the land hog area, considered coastal, and you can go right down. There's Cape Town, there's Constantia, Parle, there's Stellenbosch. And so you've got, some really important parts of the South African wine world, but Swartland's really a big and giant and robust area, not just grapes. They plant a lot of very large crops up there, really an economic stronghold. Everything grows well in Swartland. It's a very vast, and so the farms tend to be quite large, beautiful. David and Nadia, family owned, Swartland driven project. That's the name of this wine, David and Nadia. Here's a little video.
We started about 2015-16 season with what we call biological farming. It's not a thing that you can really certify. It's a philosophy focusing on soils first. So we want to resurrect old soils, almost sterile soils, to give it life. 5-6 years later, we are really seeing the benefits of it. I'm David Sadi from David and Nadia. My wife and I started this company in 2010. We started making it in wines. I grew up in this region. My family's been here since 1757. I actually wanted to play rugby professionally, studied at Stellenbosch, and it's there where I met my wife, Nadia. She specialized in soil science and viticulture, and I only got involved with her towards the end of our final year because I was pretty much married to rugby, obsessed with it, failed many subjects, committed, went through the ranks and actually had a big neck injury in 2005. Made it a bit more clearer for me that I wanted to study and actually become a winemaker. And then having worked for many great winemakers in our country, I got the opportunity to start our own production at Lemberg Wines. And Lemberg, back in the late 70s, was founded by Chenin Blanc. And in the early 80s, she also got involved as being one of the first ladies of the Cape Independent Winemakers Guild. So not really knowing during my journey that I was working for an amazing group of Cape Winemaker Guild members. And many years later, found myself very privileged to be nominated and to be part of the guild. My wife and I eventually moved back to the Swartland in 2013. We had a bit of wine, a dog, and a 2-month-old baby. And we settled back in Malmesbury, started with Paardenbosch, which is a farm in the Clos, renovated the cellar in 2014. And ever since, we've been focused and established in the Clos, which is the most eastern valley of the Paardenberg Mountain. We've been part of the Old Vine project since the beginning. So we're privileged to farm vineyards dating back to 1960. We also plant vineyards for the future. Our focus is really on Chenin Blanc. That's a white grape that we love and we are obsessed with. We bottle 5 Chenin Blancs separately, all reflecting different soils. So one region, one variety. And on the red side, we focus on Grenache. Red Grenache, especially Grenache Noir. We'll definitely aim at bottling a guild wine on Chenin Blanc, where there's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 single vineyard blended together. Those are all questions and philosophies we're working with. And then on the red side, most likely it will be a single vineyard Grenache bottling, something we haven't done before. From probably the oldest vineyards we work with, we want to bottle wines that shows purity from our region, elegant wines. Our philosophy based on our Chenin Blanc blend called Aristarchos, which means the best way of leading is by serving others. And I think it'll be true and testament to our philosophy that it's not about us, it's about our region, its soils, its beautiful vineyards and beautiful people.
Video. This wine, I bought it twice in the last year. The first time bought it shortly after tasting it. The importer was running out of cases, I said, I sold that first case pretty fast. Let me grab another one. And then it kind of stopped. I brought it in and it's just kind of been sitting there. This is the 2000 vintage. So I'm 2020, I'm sorry, 2020 vintage. And so it's been in my store maybe almost a year now. So it's been a little while since I've tasted it, and wow, it's really putting on some wonderful texture and weight. And that's what this grape variety will do. You buy them, because the producers need to release them. They're fair. It's like buying a young piece of fruit, needs a little time to, kind of fully ripen and put on some weight. And that's what's done. This is done here. James Suckling talks about grilled pineapple, preserved lemon, green fig, beeswax. Yeah, these are some of the classic nuances of Chenin Blanc, kind of that beeswax. You sometimes get a little lanolin, um, lamb's wool, lamb's milk, curd, cheese type of notes in there. So kind of look as we taste some of these to kind of wean between the savory and some of these other, the lemon, the pineapple, the wax. I think wax is a very interesting thing to note. There's a kind of is always almost the smell of a candle or a essence of wax, a hint in the nose. And this makes the wine fun and interesting and delicious. They grow it here on these crazy old seabeds, soils, and amazing stony minerality starts to pop through like granite that kind of provides a little bit of that smokiness. So it's really kind of like the perfect soil for this grape variety. And then you get that nice South African sunshine. And this is not, your budget cost plus world market wine. This is $35. Better be pretty good, but I'm telling you right now, this wine is, whoa, that wine's really cool. And I love the juiciness of it all. I mean, so drinkable, so complete. I love the prior for being etched in earth and biodynamic and raw, but this one is really got more heft and weight and richness, and it's kind of like the first one, a little bit more like the first wine, but at twice the price point than it is like the second wine. And I think that's fun about Chenin Blanc too. We're going to jump back up into the Loire Valley now and go to another really important house, Domaine de la Taille à Loups. This is a very sought after, geeky, old school, but Montlouis is where we're going now. We were in Savennières before, we were out towards Touraine before that. Now we're in Montlouis, right next to Vouvray. Montlouis is a very serious, this is like where the passion is pouring out of the Loire Valley, is in Montlouis. So let's get it, number 4 in your glass. These are showing great. I don't know about you, but when we go out to dinner, our friends, we get a wine list in our hand, or friends are walking in the door. First thought, maybe is it the night we want to have bubbles? Oh, maybe we need some Sauvignon Blanc. Maybe we need some Chardonnay. I just think we need to like find more moments for wines like this because they are so good, and relative to their expensive peers, the value is huge here. You're talking about top wines of the world, $35 for a 93 pointer. That's a pretty good value proposition. And when you hear the story from that winemaker. So now we're back up in the Loire Valley. Really cool 2021. Just brought it into the store. JP Blot is the proprietor. Jackie Blot. That name is worth looking into a little bit. We're talking a pretty small piece of property for this bottling. It's 8 hectares. The vines are 50 to 75 years of age. Let's see, the families that were there before him couldn't take care of the vineyards anymore, so they entrusted them to Mr. Blot. And he brought with him some great expertise. Now, 25 years later, Jackie is one of the people that have been, kind of given a lot of credit for reinvigorating the grape variety. Certified organic, 100% Chenin Blanc. As we talked about, 50+ year old vineyard. Sand and clay, 23 meters before hitting the limestone. So quite a big layer. No malolactic, fermented and aged in barrel, 20% new, 80% 14-year-old barrels. That says 80% 14-year-old barrels. So he doesn't mess around and say older wood. He's telling you right now, these are old wood barrels, 14-year-old barrels. That's so cool. 96 points decanter. Let's taste it. And then we'll talk about the decanter review. Decanter out of London, they tend to get a little bit more technical and detailed, and some of the references are a little obscure for us Californians, but let's check it out. Tender and restrained notes of fresh lemon zest, lemon pith, and honey on the nose. Classic Chenin Blanc right there. Ooh. Can you smell that? On the palate, there's an opulent, seductive feeling. The long, precise finish is exquisite. Sorry, I couldn't spit that out. Is exquisite, but needs more time in the bottle to develop, where it will certainly age well. A true Grand Vin with the potential for 98 points. This one says it's 12 hectare. The other one said 8. 12 hectare Clos de Mosny is a real clos enclosed by wall in the commune of Saint-Martin-les-Beaux in the southern part of Montlouis. It faces due south and it has a variety of soils. Sand in the lower part, clay, and flint over a bedrock of limestone. The Blot family are the sole owners, and only the best parts of the Clos are used in the single vineyard wine. The grapes are hand harvested and fermented and matured in Burgundian barrels. And as we know, some of them are 14 years old. This one's $45. This might be stealing the show. Monopole, single vineyard, that's what monopole means. Single vineyard with one producer. You can't sell any of your fruit and call yourself a monopole. So he makes everything from that vineyard that exists. That nose is crazy. Wow. That is making my mouth water like nuts. And that is just like almost like a lemon marmalade. or marmalade, whichever you prefer. Mm. Bone dry, guys. That nose makes you think, maybe there's some sweetness there. But that thing is just, you are licking rocks really quick. And I love that about this wine. Tom, how are these treating you, sir?
You know, I got to tell you, Ian, I'm really enjoying this. I think you have a special gift with white wines. I'm also hearkening back to last week's tasting, which since we did the bottle kit last week, I was still enjoying that for quite some time. Actually, that was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah. But I get it, you know, the nose on this thing is incredible, and I get a hint of cinnamon. I don't know if anybody else gets that, but it's yeah, I see the lemon, I see the honey, but I also get a little bit of cinnamon in there. There's a spiciness,
Oh,
but the body of it is quite unctuous, yet as you say, quite dry. And it's I've never had a Chenin Blanc quite like this one. Actually, that's true of the others I've had too, but this is superb.
awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the cinnamon reference that's kind of talking me on there is that when I grew up, if I wasn't feeling well, my mom toasted some white toast, cut it like fingers, and butter, cinnamon, and sugar.
Wow.
And I can almost smell the cinnamon and butter kind of combination
Yeah.
in the note there.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Delicious. I like how long it is too. I mean, it starts off with the nose of that wine, but that tail on that in this glass of wine, I'm still feeling it, just like, just etching in my palate. I just love it. And wow, yeah. Every time I taste these wines, I'm like, why don't I buy more of them? Oh yeah, because I've got to sell them. That's why I can't buy too many more of them, because I have a ridiculous selection of Chenin Blanc already, but there's so many more that I could own. Help me. How, at some point, somebody could probably do a store. All they sold is Chenin Blanc. And it would just be like, that's how many different references there are. And that's how many good ones there are too. But that do take a certain kind of clientele, and you have to be able to age your Chenin right, drink it when you can. Now, this next wine is a special treat because we bought a bunch of Foxen Chenin Blanc in 2019. When I say a bunch, I mean like 5 cases all at once, because we were doing these Zooms. And I probably bought this right in the heart of the pandemic in 2020. And we were doing the Zooms, and some of the Zooms would have 50, 60, 70 people on them. And we would sell a lot of wine. And this wine, there weren't that many cases available. And so I asked the salesperson, how much you got? He said 5 cases. You know what? Send me 5 cases. I love the family at Foxen. I'm really hoping that the founder winemaker pulls through right now. He's fighting for his life in the hospital. He's an older man, and he's worked really hard, and he's had some up and downs with his health. And right now, I haven't checked in the last 2 or 3 days. But Dick Doré has been amazing to my business forever. From my very first visit to, if you've never been to Foxen before, in the 1990s, they were there. That's before Sideways, before everything. Foxen was probably the best visit in Santa Barbara. It was an old, to me, it looked like a boat that had an old metal ship that had washed up in wine country. It was like this kind of rusted old building, and it kind of felt like you're, maybe the anchor on the label just kind of makes that connect with me. Maybe that was the theme they were going for. I'm not I can't remember the full story, but when you're with Dick, he'll tell you. And you tasted the wines, and you tasted the Chenin, you loved them. You tasted their Chards, you loved them. You tasted their Pinots, awesome. They made every grape under the sun at Foxen, and they did everything very well, and still do. And they have this Ernesto Wilkening vineyard that's like some of the oldest Chenin Blanc in all of California. It's in Santa Maria Valley. This is a look at their home base. I think that's the old shed that I'm remembering right there. They got started in 1985, and it was, nothing more than just this shack. The vineyard that we're tasting today is a 3-acre site. Family owns it. And this is one of the classic wines of Foxen. They've been making it forever. There you go. That's what you see when you pull up. The wine is described as being dry, spicy Chenin Blanc. Intense dried hay, Bosque pear. Elegant, but also mouth-filling. Extraordinary wine. I'd like to see how this wine progresses. And I get to now because I owned a good chunk. I think we're down to our last 11 bottles. But buying 5 cases was a big hit for us. And this kind of gets sandwiched into the Chenin Blanc collection because it's not as low price as some of them go. It's certainly not in the 96 stratosphere points. This has a lot of character to it, but it sits in around $30. Let me see what the chat says here. Uh-oh, let's see. Yeah, there's a little bit of corktane in that wine. You're not wrong, Wendy. It's a very slight, and I don't say that casually. Just any cork is like it's corked, but I don't remember this at all being in the wine when I opened it, and so it kind of come to this. And it's obviously been open since Monday. So, and it's so slight. I'm just gonna go back to it again. That I haven't tasted it yet to really confirm it's in the mouth. Maybe it's there. It's certainly a note in the nose, and it's kind of a cork. Can create a smell that's a little bit like a stale note. I'm not going to deny it's there, and it's big enough to say, oh, the nose is off. Really interesting because I am super uh, uh, sensitive to cork taint. Now I have had a bit of a nose thing for like a week because I'm producing this event tomorrow and the stress levels are up here. When you're producing an event, like every night I go to bed and all I do is toss and turn and think of the 500 things that I forgot to do and the 500 things I got to do again tomorrow. And so I don't sleep well. So I have a hard time healing until the event's over. That's what an event producer goes through. So maybe I didn't catch it on the cork opening, but because it's presenting itself the way it is, and I want to tell you that I don't taste cork taint almost at all. I don't know, maybe you could disagree with me and you could tell me I'm wrong, but the nose does have it in a pretty big way. It's kind of like a burnt, sunburnt, burnt match. Hmm. Yeah, it's there. But I'm seeing some people saying they're not picking it up, so I'm glad to hear that. And if you wouldn't have dropped that on me, Wendy, maybe I wouldn't be picking it up as much either. But I'm definitely giving it that to you. So thank you. I probably never had a corked wine go out of this room because I taste everything on Monday mornings and I can usually see it even if it's super slight. I remember once I was sitting at a bar. It was like a big restaurant where the bar was in the middle of the restaurant and you could like look at the other customers across the bar because it was like a big box bar. And the wine, the guy was opening a bottle of wine for the customer on the other side of the bar. And I'm sitting there and I smell and I'm like, that wine was corked. And I didn't want to be cocky and be a jerk, but I was like, I could smell it from here. That thing was so corked. And he brought me the bottle, corked, corked. So I'm very sensitive to it. Hmm. Just kind of a interesting note. Does anybody else think they have that in their glass? Anybody else? Kent, you good?
Yeah, I have very rare experiences with cork wines. I think I've had 2 in 40 years, so I'm really not that good.
Good. Well, I don't want to totally concede that this one is corked. So we'll just leave it to Wendy and I. Wendy, sorry about that. Thanks, Tom. Got it. Oh, I see. Hmm. Hmm. Very interesting. So Shirley, I saw your note there. I think you're talking about his partner that passed away. Dick DeRay. He's still fighting out there. All right. So we've moved through 5 and I think the Foxen being a 19 is moving into the advanced part of its life, but it's moved into more of an interesting part of its life. Like if you like wines that pick up age and character, and I think this wine is going to be fine to continue to taste and to appreciate. I think it has some different things happening going on, and but certainly the color is starting to get a little bit more advanced. It's not that fresh color, and your bottle variation may be there a little bit. All right, we're going to move on to our next wine, and we move from the Foxen at $26 to uh, a really classic brand, Philippe Fourneau. This is if you went to Vouvray 10 years ago, this guy was, on top of the charts, really a hands-on guy making wines in the classic. This is like the classic area of Vouvray. So let's appreciate that. Montlouis is kind of coming on to be where the artists are, the new artists are coming in, but this is a more classic Vouvray expression. They're right next to each other, Vouvray and Montlouis. When you drive through the area, this isn't one of my pictures, but this looks like it could be. This is what they all look like, all the hillsides and the natural flowers and the persistence of the vineyards being planted into the hills. Third generation, 1923. 11.5 hectares, all Chenin Blanc. 100% south, southeast, southwest exposures. Couple of important vineyard sites. Vines are 35 years old. Pretty small yields, average yields. Average for a good house, average for a better quality wine house. Not a lot of fruit per hectare, so pretty selective. Organic methods, but they're a little old school for being, but they're not, unless the new generation comes in and wants to take it into biodynamics or anything like that. They've always been in that organic path. No herbicides, organic fertilizers. 30,000 bottles per year. That's pretty teeny. That's, that's less than 3,000 cases. Oh, but they also make another 25,000 bottles of sparkling. So that makes sense. Okay. So 2,000 cases of sparkling and 3,000 cases of dry white. And that's probably a healthy mix if you're a small producer, because most of your wine is, for a producer like this, is being sold on visitation. People coming to the winery. They actually love that in France and in the Loire Valley. They do a lot of business this way. This is sec, meaning dry. 1 to 2 grams of residual sugar, but never more than 6. Let's get number 6 in the glass. For $50. Didn't see a review. I'm going to go in and click through the wine, see what we have on our site. So you can make Vouvray at different sweetness levels. And this one is definitely sec, The picture says Demi-Sec, and I got to get my designer to fix that. But let's see. Ornu Chenin says Demi-Sec on the photo, but it is Sec. Good, done. Because on the bottle itself, this all it says is Sec, and that's what the name says. So she got the name right and everything, but the photo she posted is incorrect. This is 2017, and I buy these Chenins looking for some character, some development, because they do take some time. And small importer brings this in, very high quality, sells to top restaurants, like the best of the best. So this is the name that you would expect to see when you go to a Michelin starred restaurant. This is a dry, the Sec version, and they carry some different vintages, because like on a restaurant like Montlouis, they might have, or a restaurant like Providence, probably even more likely, multiple vintages, and you'd be able to taste the one that you prefer, or the advancement that you prefer. This thing is barely moved. It's really in a beautiful spot. It's got that wonderful peach kind of color. You can just smell the limestone popping out of this glass. A little bit of that kind of like dried honey. This really cool kind of grinding note that's coming through, that's a bit floral, a bit of all those wonderful smells that we've been talking about. I think the peach that we're smelling here, maybe it's like dried apricot even, just it's really there in the center of the nose of this glass, surrounded by all that limestone. It's got a very voluminous, rich, mouth-filling, round and excited mouthfeel, but then you like you hit all of that dry. It's like, again, that rock that you're licking, it's right there. And wow, that's a big deal. That's a full Vouvray experience right there. I'm super pumped to have this wine at this age on my site. I put it on my site because I'm expecting people to leave the restaurant, like you're at Providence or to another top restaurant, and you're like, that Vouvray was so delicious. How much should we pay for that? You paid $160 to $200 a bottle in a restaurant like, actually probably $200 a bottle in a restaurant like Providence. You leave, you go to look for it, and I'm the only guy that has this wine. I love that. And that's why I own this wine. The importer Rosenthal, if you've ever been on our Zooms before and you've seen us talk to the folks at Rosenthal, they have the very best experts working there. And they would not carry this wine if it wasn't the absolute top of the top. So Philippe Fourneau, you came through big time. Beautiful Vouvray Sec, not Demi-Sec, Sec. The picture's wrong. That is gorgeous stuff. Gorgeous. That hint of sweetness is so subtle in that wine. The acidity comes screaming right through it, and Oh, that's awesome stuff, and far from hitting its forever point. But years ago, when we first started doing our Zooms, I did a full Zoom with the owner proprietor at Huet. She is adorable. She is intelligent. Can you see my screen? Because I do not see you on my screen.
We're not seeing your screen. Oh, it's coming up now.
There you go. Yep. How much of that last one did you not see? Did you see this one?
We saw that. Yeah, I saw it anyway. Yeah.
Let's just take it down. So we're still in Vouvray. And when you go into Vouvray, there's a couple of names that matter more than others. Huet and Fourneau are those names. We're in the most important part of the Loire Valley, the classic part. Everything they do at Huet is biodynamic. They've been biodynamic a long time. I'm not sure they paid for biodynamics for a long time, but they've been doing it. When I say paid, because in order to put it on your bottle, you have to pay some officials to come out and see the property. No one in the wine business of Vouvray or in Chenin Blanc has the land that matters the most like the Huets. Their vineyard ownership is the best of the best. Just the views from their vineyards, the sites, the old vines. This is an interest. This is a brand that is under an immense amount of scrutiny at this moment. I'm going to explain what I'm talking about in just a minute. But 1928 is Huet kind of comes into its moment. And they grabbed all these great vineyards. They own all these great sites. The winery has this incredible set of caves, lots of tradition, couple families, that have operated it since it was started. Winemaker there for a long period of time. And in comes in the end of, I'd say 2015, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, the owner of Huet is thinking about his next generation, who's going to take over the property. Our finances aren't in the best of order. Maybe we could bring in an investor. And they brought in an investor. And the investor was very helpful, but also came in and plucked down a lot of money, and then came in and made sure that money is being well spent. And then the family that gave that money to this investor came under a lot of scrutiny because the investor was Chinese. Now, family was Chinese. They're American, as American as anybody. But to the French, very classic, they look like they're Chinese because they are from China originally. But they live in America. They're a very successful family. I think the father's a doctor. The daughter is running the estate. She is brilliant. And so imagine being a Chinese American. Your dad invests in a property. And if I get any of this wrong, I'm gonna write a letter and apologize. But I think this is the story because it's been a few years. But imagine being of Asian descent and you come in and you're walking right into a very classic house in a very classic region in France. and no one has really introduced you. No one's really told the story about how you kind of came to the rescue financially for this brand. And you kind of come in and the the people find out you're involved and people start to leave the estate. Like the winemaker left with no notice and told everybody to figure it out. And so the daughter's in there working with her father, gets some good assistance, brings in some experts, fights through some situations because there's a lot of wisdom in the hands of the winemaker that left. And she has had to battle. And good for her that she made some really good decisions and has been able to keep the quality really high. In fact, the property's actually getting better scores than maybe ever right now. So really an awkward kind of few years at the property. I could feel it when I talked to her last, and that was a couple of years ago. I can't wait to talk to her again. A, she's brilliant and beautiful, but B, what a story. And to be able to go in, we're not talking about, new Chinese money here. We're talking about a doctor who worked his entire life in America and took his small fortune that he saved up and came in and helped rescue this brand. And then classic parts of the family left in disgust and anger, and it created all kinds of stories and scandal. And so it was rough. It was rough on this house. The wine that we have in the glass is the Haut le Demi-Sec. So we do actually get a little sweetness now. I've still got the prior. This is the 18. These wines are not that interesting when they're babies. You could buy probably the 21 or 22 if you wanted to. But 4 or 5 years of age on a Vouvray is exactly what the doctor orders. Can you smell that? That's like a garden of flowers and honey and all types of things in the most restrained way. Everything's about restraint here. That's my alcohol. 13.5 alcohol. Let me get somebody else's review to help me. Spectator's pretty concise, round and expressive with great balance between the sweetness of the orchard fruit and bracing acidity reminiscent of clementine. Jasmine and sweet spice notes emerge mid-palate, while ground ginger, there's your brown spice there, buddy. Details mark the velvety finish. Ginger. I love that note. Been doing a lot of ginger with broccoli. You get the pan really hot with some olive oil, throw in your ginger and your garlic, get it kind of started, then you throw the broccoli heads in there, kind of toss them in, maybe throw in a little bit of salt, then hit it with a cup of water, put the lid on it, let it kind of steam. And that is the best broccoli you've ever had. My wife and I have been eating that almost every day for the past 2 weeks. Broccoli is gorgeous right now, and good for you, of course. And man, when I read ginger, I was like, yeah, ginger. I also love Parker. Parker's reviews tend to be a little bit more artistic. Chalky spice notes, round and lush on the palate. 18 is dense, refined, charmingly sweet. This is again a demi-sec, so just slightly sweet. Stimulatingly salty finish that reveals the very fine tannins and lovely surly texture. That is a great way to go out. That'll leave your taste buds singing a little bit. That'll take on a whole nother set of foods. That is not a dessert wine. That is just demi-sec. Elevate, some dishes, throw in some spices like ginger. You could take that into so many different foods. That sounds great for some Chinese food tonight. Some General Tso's chicken or something like that would be great with that. I hope you guys enjoyed our journey through Chenin Blanc. I have some favorites in mind. I love seeing them with some age. I love seeing even our Foxen wine take on some personality. From 19, we had some 18, we had some 17. We had another 18, we had a 21, 22. 22. Yeah, we covered the whole span of recent vintages, so that's great. And just let's put a little bit of Chenin into our lives. I think it'll get better. I absolutely love this with brie and all types of cheese, Tom. You can definitely play too with that honey component. Put that on a plate. If you've ever baked brie, that's
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
great fun crowd pleasing appetizer. You just bake that until it starts to leak. Put a little honey on top of that. People go mad. I really, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. No, a lot of fun, Ian, as always. Thank you.
Oh, it's great. Great to taste with you. I hope everyone has a good week, and it's been a crazy week. Obviously, there's some news we're not going to talk about, but it's been wild, and I just hope that things simmer down and we get some good news on the weeks ahead, because it's been pretty challenging to see some of the stuff that's been going on. And my Dodgers played like terrible baseball last week, so
Well, that makes me happy.
yeah, well, you can drink my tears.
Yeah, well, the Giants hardly exist, so there you go.
They're right there, man. I'm telling you, they're when you look at the wild card, it's crazy how many teams are in it this year. I think the first place teams are literally playing back into the pack. The first place team should be 20 games up in some cases. Some of the games that the Dodgers lost last week, like to the White Sox. Was it the Detroit Tigers or Detroit? Who did we play last week? We lost 2 games in the 9th inning. That's all I can remember. It was horrible.
Torture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, have a great week, everybody. And
Thanks.
join me for next week if you can. And Argentina the week after. Zoom into Wine for the upcoming schedule. We've got them scheduled every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And if the rest of the tastings taste as good as this one, you don't want to miss them. Thanks, everybody.
You.